Happy full moon, and this is my interpretation. According to Vedic astrology, this full moon will be in the sign of Leo at 2 degrees in the 3rd house. Now, to recognize astrological patterns, I will recap back to the last full moon in Cancer in the 10th house that occurred on January 13th of 2025. During that time, energetically, you and others felt the call to make some long-term decisions. Full moons remind me of a 9-month-old pregnant woman whose water just broke and is now ready or forced to deliver a baby. I also mentioned how when a baby is born, sometimes a parent or both abandons the child. I concluded this is in part due to fear, a lack of commitment, previously bad examples and experiences, or perhaps financial strain. But ultimately, it is due to a lack of maturity and a willingness to step up to the plate, whether you have children of your own or not. The concept is still the same. Before a child is conceived, there are absolute ideas, opinions, and thoughts surrounding a baby. Some people want a child more than anything, whereas for others, they actively try to avoid such a fate. My point is, the child was initially a thought, an idea, that 9 months later became a reality. We all have ideas and thoughts that we have created by ourselves or with the help of another that we want to give birth to. Some people create and nurture babies, while others go off to create and nurture businesses, books, groups, projects, careers, homes, and families, for example. I hate when that happens. All of which require long-term commitment. Your goals do not care how you feel, and the same can be said for the families, relationships, careers, businesses, and homes, etc. When the full moon occurred back on January 13th, I personally wasn't able to show up for myself and my endeavors. Why? I realized that I still harbor negative feelings towards my parents, who I do not feel nurtured me properly or committed to the idea of me, especially when faced with the reality of me. You see, it's very easy for us to form an idea, just like it's quite easy to have sex and get someone pregnant. In the beginning stages of creating a baby or drafting a business plan or business moves, it's easy and fills us with great pleasure. But when time demands that you start working on and taking care or taking your initial idea serious, the problem arises and results usually in abandonment of the idea. We then try to find a replacement, aka distraction, to compensate or to cope with the failure that we essentially created. With this in mind, can you recognize the patterns? Can you somewhat now decipher what this full moon in Leo will entail? Before I jump into that, I also want to address the new moon that we had in Capricorn in the 9th house that we experienced on January 29th. To refresh your memory, new moons are a time when it's most appropriate to set intentions for your life. Again, setting intentions, having ideas, and creating them is easy. However, with Capricorn and Saturn's influence, setting those intentions or drafting that plan or creating that baby is promised to come with much difficulty. The same difficulty some of us abandoned back on the last full moon in Cancer in the 10th house. The same difficulty your parents or whomever raised you experienced while raising you. There's a pattern. The new moon's purpose in Capricorn in the 9th house was to break that abandonment, fear-based, negative, and lack mentality and inadequacy pattern, including negative habits we've developed to cope with such profound and reoccurring failures. Furthermore, the purpose was to finally just do the thing on your own and or with someone on the same page as you, someone who has the same beliefs as you, thanks to the 9th house. An example, back in the day, I was committed to bodybuilding and working my way up in the fitness world. I was developing a brand and a name for myself. During that intense and hyper-focused time, I only wanted to be surrounded by other bodybuilders. I could not tolerate being around regular, aka half-assed gym goers or unhealthy eaters. I needed to be around other fitness junkies who shared the same goal as me, which was competing in fitness competitions. This helped me with keeping me competitive, focused, and determined. It never mattered how I felt. I remember crying on the stair stepper for an hour with menstrual cramps. Those cramps were not strong enough to deter me from my goal. And in part, it was due to also the company that I kept. Bodybuilding is an independent sport, but I was still surrounded by those with the same beliefs and goals, and this kept me committed until it didn't. Until I allowed a man to come into my life who triggered some unhealed patterns, and this is when I started to spiral. I eventually abandoned bodybuilding, and since then have not been able to bounce back. And it's not because I'm incapable, but more so there's fear and feelings of inadequacy that I haven't addressed. I wasn't strong enough emotionally or spiritually to combat those unhealed negative patterns I developed from my childhood that I thought were addressed and healed. Perhaps fitness was an illusion. I wanted to build a strong body and mind, but I failed to create or build a stronger emotional and spiritual center. Why? In hindsight, this is due to not having that influence in my environment. I had strong bodybuilders in my environment, but not strong spiritual or emotional people, all of which I needed. So instead, I created a distraction or allowed a distraction to come through, and I suffered the consequence. My personal story is a prelude into the full moon in Leo at 2 degrees in the 3rd house. How regretful and stupid would you feel about abandoning a child, an idea, a career, a relationship, or some opportunity that ends up being successful? Keep in mind that the definition of success varies per individual, and the energy of Leo is all about individuality, what sets us apart and makes us special. Speaking from experience, I do regret not following through with my bodybuilding career, because who could I be now had I fought my inner evil, my fears and resentment that derived from my earlier years? In true Leo fashion, I can only assume that I would feel accomplished and quite successful. Insert the violin. Insert the violin, you know. But anyway, Leo at 2 degrees falls within the decan ruled by Leo. The potential within this degree is contingent upon your environment and your audience. The sign of Leo rules the 5th house of creativity, pride, ego, our inner child, risks, and those things or people in which bring us great joy. With Saturn being in Aquarius opposite this full moon, denoting joy, passion, and taking risk, this indicates fears, limitations, delays, and blockages that we all internalize and unfortunately allowed to influence us and ultimately resulting in our joy, pride, and ego, aka personality, and who we are trying to becoming stifled or stolen. Due to the full moon being in the 3rd house, governor of our immediate environment, childhood, siblings, and thoughts, it further confirms my analysis. The sign of Leo is known to always compare themselves to others due to the competition of being center stage. All eyes on me, Tupac Shakur vibes. When the sign of Leo does not receive attention from others, all the attention, it becomes depressed. The problem Leo signs or the energy Leo exudes is that it or they are unable to look within and give itself what they seek from others, and most times others will let you down, especially due to jealousy. We equate Leo energy with fame, fortune, and good looks. This incites jealousy, intimidation, and hatred from others who want what they perceive that you have. We can turn on the news or any social media outlet, courtesy of the 3rd house, and we will see millions of people hating someone and actively trying to tear them down and demean them, like celebrities, for example, or those with wealth or some illusionary reason, when in reality, it's mainly due to jealousy and envy. We also have witnessed others who are up and coming being overlooked, criticized, and unsupported. We witness people who are genuinely and naturally talented getting overlooked. Some of you have experienced this personally, especially in your immediate environment. It seems that the people around you, whether that be friends, family, or lovers, not supporting you, whereas complete strangers will. This is hurtful and damaging to one's ego, and sadly, that is the point and purpose of these jealous and envious people. And these people are more than likely your friends, family, and lovers. To reiterate, the sign and energy of Leo needs others to validate them, and it'll become clear that others are intentionally refusing to do so. The full moon in Leo in the 3rd house poses the question of whether or not you are going to pick up and commit to the thing despite not receiving validation, praise, getting the leading role, or feeling worthy. Or if you will continue to let others dictate your worth and ultimately you becoming depressed and abandoning everything altogether, all of which will only hurt you and empower your haters. Those haters are disguised as friends, family, and lovers. Again, the 2nd degree of Leo is in Leo, which suggests potential, and with Saturn in Aquarius opposing your potential, others are opposing you, and this should be made very clear for you to see, especially with this full moon in Leo. Just give me one moment because my Virgo Leo cusp dog is clearly barking. She needs attention, so let me go ahead and give her attention. I'll be right back. And we're back. This full moon will either influence you to abandon your ideas and ultimately leading you into depression, and or you can use Mars as retrograded in Gemini to fight back by developing mental toughness and strength to overlook those who are intentionally overlooking you. Continue expressing yourself and ideas despite not receiving validation. Others do not define you or what you have to offer, and let's be frank, those who are trying to define you and steal your light are jealous and envious of you. You have light, a gift, a talent, and a strong personality that intimidates others while simultaneously exposing their inadequacy that they have failed to address or heal. This energy reminds me of the quote, "They want to see you do good, just not better than them." And I'm just being generous by stating others want to see you do good because, again, Leo energy is the actor of the zodiac. Therefore, people act like they want to see you do good, but their actions, with consideration to Mars retrograde in Gemini, prove otherwise. A lot of people abandoned their dream and cannot stand for you to pursue and accomplish your dreams. It's so painful to their ego, but that's not your problem. Unfortunately, with Chiron, Neptune, the North Node, and Venus all conjunct in Pisces, others are projecting their pain and lack onto you, further explaining why others are intentionally trying to act like they do not see or recognize your talent and ability. They fail to see potential in themselves and therefore cannot see or refuse to see it in you. Personally, I'm adopted. My mother was and still is jealous of me, but I didn't see that until I became much older and more consciously aware. She never complimented me. In fact, she criticized my appearance all the time and hated when I received any kind of attention. This led to her making me wear oversized hand-me-down clothing, and she would never get my hair done. I've also always have been athletic. However, my family failed to support me or show up to my basketball games. Her biological daughter was given all the praise, attention, and support, though. I was always an afterthought, and this pattern followed me throughout my life, even now. I became a shell of a person and always made myself small because of my upbringing and how I was treated. As a result, I never committed to anything or anyone because I knew eventually someone was going to take away my joy and confidence as designed. I became fearful, quiet, and resigned. I allowed someone else to rob me of my potential, and in my adulthood, there's regret and resentment because why didn't I fight back? Why didn't I continue to practice basketball or write my poetry despite my family not supporting me? Where would I be today if I was mentally strong enough to overcome the shade, the jealousy, and the envy? For me, this full moon in Leo is conjunct my midheaven in Chiron in Leo in the 10th house and opposing my natal Saturn that is retrograded in Aquarius. Surprise. This full moon feels very personal. All right, I choose to fight back, but what about you? I personally have an empty 3rd house, and so this full moon is giving me my voice and creating a space in my environment to speak out and express myself, including my overlooked and undervalued talents. This full moon is also giving me the confidence to do it regardless of the lack of support I know I will receive. I was abandoned at birth, and throughout my life, I repeated that pattern until now. Because my family, quote unquote family and friends, acquaintances, and past lovers refused to see my worth or nurture me in a way that I desperately needed. It's like the universe, the moon, will do it instead. And by the moon, I mean, I will do it for myself instead, as you should do it for yourself as well. Side note, I also forgot to mention that the sun is officially in Aquarius now, conjuncting Saturn. So expect to see in live time others opposing who you are trying to become, considering the sun represents who we are trying to become in this life. If you want something done right, do it yourself, right? If you need, due to the moon's influence, attention, praise, and for someone to recognize your worth, give all those things to yourself instead. Empower yourself instead of allowing others to become, as aforementioned many times above, and in various ways, others who are trying to intentionally steal your light. By stealing your light, you are reduced to depression and becoming a shell of a person while they become powerful. In true Leo fashion, that should never happen. Leo energy would rather die than to play behind the scenes, and thanks to the vertex and Scorpio in the 5th house, you will need to either die and allow this full moon to assist in your rebirth and or to succumb to death. And by death, I mean death by depression, insecurity, lack mentality, excuses, resentment, rage, envy, projected but internalized jealousy, and regression. Remember, you have a natural ability or talent, whereas others have to work very hard to be and to have what comes natural to you. These haters are jealous of you, but instead, if you allow it, you become jealous of them. And for what? They are intentionally rejecting, avoiding, and overlooking you, when in reality, you naturally rejected, overlooked, and avoided them. You aren't doing this on purpose, but they are. So you see the difference. They want to play and steal a role that comes naturally to you. However, If this full moon in Leo resonates with you, understand that you have allowed others to steal your birthright, and you need to be more than willing to fight, more than willing now to fight for your throne. For others of you, you need to fight more than ever now to retake your throne. Do not allow your past, which is Saturn energy, to rob you of that idea of love, career, happiness, joy, career advancement, entrepreneurship, and whatever else. Do not allow a negative family history to deter you from starting and committing to a family of your own or whatever else. So let's go ahead and get into the aspects. The moon will be opposing Mercury. The moon obviously is in Leo at 2 degrees in the 3rd house, and Mercury is in Aquarius at 2 degrees in the 9th house. So simply put, how you choose to show up or not, others will have a problem with it. This placement gives me the vibes of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'd rather be damned for doing than to feel damned for the latter. Mercury in the sign of Aquarius suggests geniusness, but also rebellion and awkwardness in the 9th house of higher and expanded and universal beliefs. If you are showing up for yourself and giving all of your attention and affection towards yourself while expressing yourself, expect to be met with indifference. This energy also reminds me of a song by Chris Brown, How You Hating From Outside the Club? You can't even get in. This opposition suggests that society has learned to be indifferent and aloof towards anyone who expresses themselves with confidence. Aquarius energy, despite popular belief, is not about individuality. The sign of Leo is. If Aquarius energy represents the collective, how is their individuality? Did you watch the Super Bowl? There was an entire stadium of people, and that's all you see. People. That's Aquarius energy. If you are watching this video, what you are experiencing is Leo energy, okay? You're watching just me, an individual. In conclusion, most people blend in and want to appear like everyone else. They want to fit in, therefore we have a society that acts, thinks, looks, and wants the same thing. There are no different than being in a crowd of people at a football game. You are a part of something bigger than you. This YouTube video is just me, separate from everyone else. Do you see the problem? You rarely see or experience jealousy in crowds because everyone is equal. But the moment you start standing out, Leo energy, it's a problem. Because how dare you? I'm scared to express myself and resentful that I don't have attention. So how dare you separate yourself and seek attention, even if it's well-deserved attention? Like the football game, everyone is on the same page to some degree, okay? Because everyone obviously has their own team. However, collectively, we will boo the opposing team. Emphasis on opposing, aka opposite. But when you are on the same team, everyone loves you. Random people are buying you beer, cheering with you, and etc. If the opposing team wins, the losing team and their fans are sore losers and mad. The same concept applies, especially if you are standing out and showing up for yourself, going against the grain. Celebrities embody Leo energy, and most of them are hated because they have separated themselves from the collective. People love to hate celebs because they have and are what others wish to be and to have. Now, let's say the celeb donates money to random people. Now, all of a sudden, they're loved. Giving money to those who have less than you make them feel special, even if it's temporary. Someone who has Leo star energy, giving attention to Aquarius energy, the collective, gives them temporarily Leo energy, which is attention and the feeling of being special. This exposes just how much others want to be and to have Leo energy. The root cause of this hate and jealousy is from others wanting to be you. So while they do the opposite and try to hate you for being special, why don't you give them more reasons to be mad? Just be you. I mean, it's natural. It's easy to just be you. Eventually, they'll try to team up with you because their hate can't bring you down. The moon is also squaring Uranus that is retrograded. And this is like my favorite aspect here. But anywho, to reiterate, the moon is in Leo at 2 degrees in the 3rd house, and Uranus is retrograded in Aries at 29 degrees in the 11th house. This will resonate mainly with those who have struggled with showing up for yourself. Uranus retrograded in Aries will personally challenge you to fight back and to assert yourself. If you accomplish this, the challenge will be redirected towards those who have been your haters. those who secretly wish to sabotage, hurt, and steal from you. This placement feels like return to sender vibes. Others, which is 11th house energy, thought that they were successfully defeating, dominating, and silencing you, mainly psychologically and mentally. Uranus retrograded in Aries will internally challenge you to rise to the occasion. And with the 29th degree influence, this is a critical move for you to make. This influence is extremely powerful for those with Aries placements, but it is not limited to. In making this critical move to quite literally be you, which should be easy, this will cause a profound shock in the hearts and minds of your haters. You are basically making the executive decision to prove yourself. You're making the executive decision to prove yourself wrong by accepting this internal challenge. And in turn, as within and so without, this will challenge others, especially those who projected their negativity onto you. If you are not appearing how others wanted to see you, going back to Venus, Chiron, the North Node, and Neptune in Pisces, then this crashes and burns their illusions, and this is where the return to sender kicks in. Most people were hoping, praying, and wishing, which is 11th house energy, on your downfall. They were confident that they would break you and have control over you. So when you show up and do your thing, whatever that is, and it doesn't reflect failure, depression, and hopelessness, this infuriates and frustrates your haters. Hence, the square. When you no longer harbor projected feelings, pain, and thoughts that aren't yours, then someone else has to. Side note, I was shocked to see that Saturn is not aspecting the moon when they are in opposite signs. And I believe this is due to Neptune, Chiron, Venus, and the North Node being in Pisces. To me, intuitively, this suggests that people they don't want you to know that they've been projecting and wishing on your downfall. Unfortunately for them, this full moon in Leo is helping you feel and pick up on what isn't being said and thought of about you by others, which again is 11th house energy. This is not popularly known, but the third house also deals with magic, spells, intentions, and affirmations. When you are telling yourself over and over that you will buy that dream house, that's magic. When you tell yourself over and over, I don't like that person, that's magic. Wishing ill on someone sometimes works. Wishing for success sometimes works, and so forth. As for mentioned with Mars retrograde in Gemini, people say one thing and do another. I personally work in customer service, and people think I love my job and want to help them, but the whole time in my mind, I'm wishing that they would shut the fuck up and leave me alone. I am doing one thing, but thinking something completely different, and the same goes for those who claim to support, love, and value you. Their actions don't match their words, and/or their words don't match their actions. Combat all of the illusions and sweet lies people are spewing at this time. In fact, just ignore it all. It would be in your best interest not to trust anyone or involve them in your Leo endeavors, courtesy of Uranus being in Aries, the independent and self-sufficient sign. People are disappearing each day you show up and show confidence. You may notice they crowded around, though, when you were crashing and burning. In conclusion, you are being challenged to be self-centered and selfish, and with the vertex in Scorpio, also to be secretive about your fifth house matters, aka your creative and or sexual business. This in turn will challenge and frustrate others because they do not know what to attack. They don't see you coming until it's too late. It's like people walking around blind or with outdated prescriptions for their glasses, and out of nowhere you appear all bright and in your glory. It will disturb their eyes, similar to being in the dark for so long and then the lights come on. It hurts and your eyes are struggling to readjust to the brightness. Frustrate people by making them readjust their illusions and what they wanted to see concerning you instead of it being the other way around. This is the critical move. The sun will also be opposing the moon as well, as a conclusion. And the sun is in Aquarius at 0 degrees in the 9th house. And of course, the moon is in Leo at 2 degrees in the 3rd house. The sun and Uranus, ruler of Aquarius, are natural enemies. Therefore, the sun does not like being in the sign of Aquarius. Also, Aquarius at 0 degrees is still influenced by the previous sign, Capricorn, suggesting that the collective and society not only dislike themselves, but also who they've become. As a result, they do not like you because, although they don't like you, especially since you are feeling, Leo energy, more bold, prideful, and confident in your communication, but more so in your mind. Who do they think they are? Will be on the minds of others concerning you. It was all good when you were timid, uncertain, and insecure in your self-expression because this made others feel bigger, Leo energy. But now you've turned the tables. It's a major problem like all oppositions create. Another contrasting difference is this time around, you can feel the hate coming from others and you don't care, whereas before you did, and it showed. This placement makes me cackle because Leo energy is pleasant and charming. And in the third house, that's how you will come off, temporarily disarming your haters. They will mistake your kindness for weakness, and that is when they're in for a rude awakening, Aquarius vibes. For example, I mentioned earlier that this full moon in Leo feels personal to me, which is, anybody will feel personal. It's Cancerian moon energy. Why does this happen? Sorry, y'all. Okay, here we are. All right, so this full moon in Leo feels personal to me because I have Chiron and my midheaven in Leo in the 10th house, opposite my natal Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. So I've been practicing this energy and observing others' reactions. I sound pleasant and professional on the phone, and people think, okay, I'm gonna bully her to get what I want. However, out of nowhere, they don't get what they want, and I don't bend over backwards for them like they expected. I'm refusing to give them what they want while sounding, third house energy, nice and confident, but unwavering. This enrages them, and they start projecting onto me, calling me mean. But wait, when I was being nice and you took that for weakness, I was fine. And I was nice. But the moment I say no, I'm being mean, I don't think so. In reality, these are mean-hearted people, okay, that are trying to bully or emotionally manipulate me. And I'm sure these are people trying to do the same to you. Anyway, the sun in Aquarius in the 9th house suggests stereotypes. So again, others oppose you because in their distorted mind, they have distorted belief systems, thanks to the 9th house. And that are clearly, thanks to the sun energy, is failing them. Funny enough, they refuse to change or acknowledge their distortions, even when proven wrong. And this is where that Capricorn influence comes into play, with the sun being at 0 degrees in Aquarius. Capricorn energy refuses to change even when systems are failing. And I find this even funnier because Pluto is in Capricorn in the 8th house. Saturnian structures, dynamics, foundations, and beliefs are being destroyed. And you have no control over that, but yet people want to take that out for you, take that out on you for it. Reason being, the collective loves, supports, and operates in Capricorn energy, and that's being exposed as a corrupt system. Just look around. People genuinely hate change, including anyone who represents that change. People secretly love oppression and being told what to do and being told who they are. People are scared to discover for themselves who they are. And on a personal note, this is why I believe wholeheartedly in Sidereal astrology. This is an accurate system despite all the nakshatras. But when I tried to teach Sidereal astrology, I met with indifference because it's different than the norm. The norm that is a lie, of which is all being exposed. As such, I digress. I work in banking, and when we change new policies, people respond with, but it's always been like X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, it's like this now, get over it. But they can't get over it, and now they want to get disrespectful towards me because I'm representing a change. In other words, people love living in the past but refuse to learn from it. So the past isn't repeated, but clearly they like things that repeat, suggesting a lack of evolution. I do not believe history repeats itself. I think people do. Another point, Aquarius in the 9th house indicates indifference towards learning higher ideals, higher consciousness, and or a new world order. We are preparing for the age of Aquarius, and it'll become clear to you that others are not on board with this new world order of Aquarius. There's a lack of respect or value towards it, and with this opposition, others will hate you for being a representative of change, i.e. the moon in Leo in the 3rd house. Some of you listening or reading this will probably be confused because what you thought about Leo and Aquarius energy is the complete opposite. The opposite of what you've been taught, ninth house energy, resulting in you rejecting my words, third house energy, in lieu of sticking to lies created by a corrupt and systematic government. But oh well. The sun is conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, and so the sun hates Aquarius energy, and Saturn dislikes Leo energy. Saturn also used to rule Aquarius, but being that Aquarius is independent, an independent sign, it broke free. That freedom is what is hated by most people, especially if you express yourself in a free and careless manner, which the moon, this full moon in Leo in the third house, will influence you to do. Mars will be going direct on the 24th and will eventually go back into the sign of Cancer, where passive aggressive behavior, emotional temper tantrums, and emotional guilt or blackmail will ensue, all in attempts to make you back down and to make yourself small and insecure once again. Be prepared and do not back down. People will try their hardest to manipulate you emotionally, but it won't work because you don't care. Your emotional state, whoa there, you don't care. And sorry guys, I'm always losing my spot. That's annoying. Okay. All right. We're back. Okay. So your emotional state will be feeling like Leo energy, and this Leo energy is always concerned with itself. No one else matters unless they are applauding the Leo, and the same can be said to explain this energy. They better talk to you nice or don't talk to you twice. You will not be tolerating disrespect or emotional manipulation. And this will enrage others, making them want to attack you because they did not get their way. And oh well, okay? Oh well, they don't matter and never did. Happy full moon.